Now, this is interesting. The PM has billed us taxpayers $750,000 in the first 3 months of last year. This includes over $180,000 on his international travel, $480,000 on his employees' travel, and $6,000 on family travel. Tanya, Airbus elbow striking again. Look, Polly's entitlements have really been thrust into the spotlight lately. Does there need to be greater transparency?
Look, it's always amazes me as a state MP how much the federal members of parliament get in terms of allowances. But can I just say, the more transparency, the better. And I think it's important that every expense that these members of parliament make, that they sign off on them.
Yes.
That they sign declarations that they were for the right purpose, that they, in fact, took the cheapest option available. That's what I'd like to... your members of parliament to sign off, because you've actually got to demonstrate and prove to the taxpayer that you took the most affordable option. So the idea that both Bowen and Albanese very recently took separate jets to the one location to make the one announcement, that makes people really sick. You know, in a current climate of cost of living, that makes people really, really angry. Did they make the right choice? Of course not. It's those type of decisions that I think make people the most angriest. And when you hear about people taking business class when they could have taken economy class, you know, there's a lot of options that members of parliament can take to reduce the level of costs associated with it.
Absolutely, they can.
And they should be doing that. And perhaps it might need to be legislated, because we've left it up to them to make the decision, and they have done.
Well, that's what we can't do.
What do you think?
Look, I agree with you. I think Australians rightly want more transparency around it. We have seen a number of these issues over many, many, many years. So it's just not now. It's
it's been going
constantly
for years.
and constantly and constantly. So Australians have made really clear that we want greater accountability and transparency across all of government and governments. You know, state, territory, and even councils and the like. And that's why a lot of people, or I would say all of us, get upset when we hear these issues, because we feel as though we are being ripped off, and more so particularly during a cost of living crisis where people are really doing it tough.
Well, they are being ripped off.
So it all needs to be justified, and perhaps the rules need to be strengthened. Sometimes there are, of course, good reasons around it, but we need to understand very clearly what they are. And I just think it's a kind of broader issue around politics. I mean, trust in politicians and politics right now is at, I don't know if it's an all-time low, but it is very significant, decade-long low.
Absolutely,
And this is a big part of it, is because we keep hearing these things and people go, well, hang on a minute, like I'm being asked to do this and I'm paying all my taxes, which we are, right? And, you know, and then all of a sudden all of this stuff is happening and we will not and should not wear it. So it's good that this stuff's come out. And I think everyone in Australia needs to be really clear that the rules are working in our favour.
It's also important to remember that these Labor politicians were happy to attack the former Liberal government on this very issue.
That's very true.
On much smaller expenditures. So I find that funny that there's not much hoo-ha now about it. But there certainly was pre-last election.
And this is what happens with all oppositions and so on. Right? Everyone attacks, and then when they're there, they want a different standard. So same standard. The standard is not yours. The standard is ours. We're the people. We're the citizens. And we'll say what the standards are. And politicians have to abide by them, and not the other way around.
No, absolutely. There definitely needs to be greater transparency, though. I mean, two gas-guzzling jets going to the Hunter this week for an environmental announcement. I mean, unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Absolute shocker. Now, King Charles.
Here's my one.
This is a Craig Foster special, because King Charles is telling his travel organisers to speed up plans for a royal tour of Australia in October. Now, this was after he appeared in very high spirits on Easter Sunday, his first public appearance, of course, since his treatment for cancer began. Look, Craig, we know you are a staunch Republican, but look, it looks like the King is still preparing for his charm offensive.
You'll be happy to visit, I'm sure. You'll be happy to be first there up on the line to say hello to the King.
You will be.
You'll accept the invite.
Firstly, I am a staunch Republican because I believe in us, I believe in you, I believe in Tanya, I believe in all of your viewers, I believe in our capability and that this country can do our own thing and stand on our own. That's why I'm a staunch Republican. It's got actually nothing to do with Charles. I actually like Charles, right? You know, I think he does a lot of great stuff, and I talked about some of it before. I support his climate advocacy and the like. It's just that I think it's time for us to do something different. and that we are capable of being our own country. And I want someone to represent us around the world, which is our head of state's role, and we don't have someone currently. And I think that's important. In a cost of living crisis, we should have someone spruiking all of our trade, and our head of state does not do that. He spruiks a different country. So anyway, I love the fact that he's coming. I want him.
You want a meeting.
You want a meeting.
You want a meeting.
I want to meet him.
You want to meet him.
Because, look, I met Sarah Ferguson.
Yes, Sarah Ferguson.
Only a couple of weeks ago at a conference in Melbourne, like 2 weeks ago, and I spoke with her, and people thought that the co-chair of the Republic and a royal family member, or whatever you term her, can't be in the same room. And I said, that's ridiculous. Yeah. We respect. All Australians respect the royal family. We respect their position in our history. So I went up to her and said, listen, this is what people... We are friends. In fact, I said to her, we are brother and sister countries. Yeah. And therefore, we respect each other. We are always going to be friends now and in future. But you, of course, understand that, it's time for us. And of course, they don't have a problem with that, right? Just when we explain to Australians and to the royal family that we want to do this in a respectful way and move forward. So I couldn't be more... Firstly... And let me say lastly, because I want you to talk.
We're running out of time.
Lastly, I'm delighted that he's well. That's the most important thing. I'm delighted that he looks great.
Absolutely.
Let's see him out here.
Tanya, it's good to see. We're running out of time, but it is good to see him well.
Absolutely. I think everyone's pleased that he's recovering, and the fact that he will come to Australia, I think, will be welcomed by most Australians.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
I think so many Republicans will be jumping to attend those events. Anywhere they can get a free glass of wine and say hello to the King. They will be there, don't you
Craig's
worry.
big moment, he's ready for it.
This is my big moment. What are you talking about?
Tonight is your big moment.
It doesn't get bigger than this.
Craig Foster, Tanya Mihaly, good to see you both as always. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.